My name is Wayne Marks. I'm 38 years old, if that's correct. And I'm from London, originally born in Birmingham.
And Wayne, can you just take me back to the night?
London Bridge Street, I'm just about to cross the road to go in front of the news building when I hear a female scream from the left-hand side. Sounded like it was coming from London Bridge Street, but more towards where London Bridge itself is. When I looked to my left after I heard the scream, seeing there's a bar, it's like a restaurant called Tito's, a bit further down to the left, and on the weekends and in the evenings at nights it turns into like a nightclub, bar kind of thing. But the bouncers standing outside there, people queuing to get in, people having a cigarette, all of them, every single one of them were static. They weren't moving. All of them like deers in the headlights, they were all staring in one direction. That sort of gave me a clue that something definitely was wrong. Then I remember hearing some shouting and then what sounded like glass smash. I get there and there's a guy on the floor, people standing around him, my colleagues on one knee, assessing him. I'm having a look and I can see he's breathing, he's grimacing, he's flat out. At that time I was still thinking, you know, it was obviously a pub fight that had gone wrong, or possibly a gang fight at the most. I still had no concept of what was really happening. And just as I'm on the radio, I hear a loud scream. It was a female's scream, and it was pretty nearby. I turn around to the right, and I see this white lady screaming. And that's when I see the first one sort of has her in a headlock. I remember grabbing my baton with my right hand and I racked it. I took a deep breath and I just charged the first one while he was still attacking the guy on the floor. As I got near him, I swung at him with everything I had as hard as I could, straight through his head, trying to go for like a knockout blow, because I know it hurt him because I heard him like yelp in pain, and I knocked him backwards off of the guy that he was stabbing. I get a whack on the side of the head, and he did me so hard that my right eye went lights out straight away, just went blind. I went blind even before I started bleeding. Just instant darkness in the eye. The second one and the third one, I was basically fighting left to right, because I only had one eye, so I'm moving left to right, left to right. I think the third one is the one that ends up chopping the back of my hands where you got there, and I remember my left leg just starts wobbling. It's just like wobbling. I was like, what's wrong with my leg? What's wrong with my leg? So I look down and then I see there's a knife moving up and down in my leg. And when I see it's the first one that was fighting, he'd got back up and was sticking his knife into the outside of my left leg, in the hip area. I don't have a clear memory. All I remember is I'm just swinging. I'm swinging all over the place. I don't even know if I'm hitting them or not. All I know is I'm swinging and just fighting. The three of them are standing on the footpath, and I'm standing in the middle of the road. And I'm staring at them with one eye, a baton in my hand, obviously bleeding, but I didn't realise how badly I was hurt. The adrenaline, the fighting, all of that. I could feel what they were doing to me, but I couldn't feel it at the same time. I could just feel that I'd been cut and hurt. And the three of them are standing together almost shoulder to shoulder like a little wolf pack, and they're staring at me. And that's when I get to size them up. Because the short one that was on the right hand side, he was the one that I heard saying like, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. He said it a few times, eyes bulging. And it was almost like a standoff. I'm standing in the middle of the road, they're standing on a footpath, I'm staring at them, they're staring at me. And I'm basically just like a cowboy western movie waiting for the draw, you know, waiting for them to make their move. And I'm thinking, right, they're gonna rush me. I'm just getting ready for it. But they didn't the second time. Can't tell you why. I don't know why they didn't come for me the second time. Then a couple of other officers show up, and they eventually helped me to sit down. And then after that, I just remember just letting go, drop my baton to the side. Like a lot of what people say, that black cloud starts to come into your vision, and it starts closing in and closing in. And I pretty much knew time was up. I'm calling to the officer that I'm more familiar with. Don't think I'm allowed to say his name, but I'm calling his name, And he says, "All right, mate." I'm spitting blood out my mouth. And I'm telling him, "Come here." And he comes in close, he turns his radio down. I'm just giving him all my last messages to my parents, to the missus, to the family. And he's like, "No, mate, tell him yourself, tell him yourself." And I said, "Just listen, just do it, just do it." And that was the last thing. And then the last bit of darkness comes. And then that was it. The next thing I remember clearly was waking up in hospital. So obviously I got multiple stab wounds. The major injuries that I had surgery on, the eye area around, you can see I've still got some stitches through the right eyebrow, front of the forehead. I think I had about 4 operations on there. I had the left hip, leg, thigh area. That was opened up about 5 inches across, about 3.5 to 4 inches deep. The left hand, they severed, split that middle finger open. Those were my major injuries. Still now, it won't hold my body weight, obviously. I can't walk on it as such. I use the Zimmer frame, or, you know, granny walker as I like to call it, just for amusement. If I can't walk, I can't run, I can't use my hand, I can't be a police officer exactly. You know, you need to be able to run, you need to be able to fight, you need to be able to put handcuffs on, you need to be able to deploy your kit, hold your notebook and write, you know, all those things that you can't do right now. The reaction's amazing, you know, there's words like awesome, amazing, overwhelming, it doesn't really describe. I've not really been in this position before, you know, it's not just me. My partner has to go through it, my parents have to go through it, my colleagues have to go through it, you know, the bosses have to go through it, you know, and it's not just me, it's the victims, their families, the families of the attackers, they have to go through it from their end. So am I a hero? On this one, I'm going to say majority rules. I think that's the best way to go. What is it? We're in a world of democracy, right? So majority rules. But there's still 8 people that lost their lives and many more that got wounded. By the time I got there, some of them were already dead and dying. I couldn't help everybody. Being a hero was the last thing I was thinking about. Even fighting terrorists was the last thing I was thinking about. All I was trying to do was keep people alive. That was my job. Keep people alive. And that's what I did. That's what I tried to do.
You said that you remember being on the ground and shouting to go get them. Do you know if your colleague then ran? in that direction afterwards?
Sorry, I don't think it's...
Don't know.
No.
Okay.
We're still in...
West Ham fan. Era, Liverpool were the big team, and they were one of the few teams at that stage that were big and they had John Barnes playing for him, so there wasn't that many black players back then. But they are a frustrating team at times. Don't get me wrong.
Not frustrating as well, so.
Who are you?
Arsenal.
Yeah.
All the money.
No, Arsenal. In all honesty, Arsenal. See, Arsenal fans are very fickle. Very fickle people. Always in the top four.
Yeah.
You know, they always kept Tottenham and Everton, who had money spent, Man United, Liverpool. You know, they kept us out of the top four for a while, along with obviously the Manchesters and stuff.
You use balls and last out. You should support the Arsenal.
Who, me?
Big Man United 3-2 away.
It was.
Don't get used to the boss being young by now. That's a one-off days.
Well,